Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV, the number one advocate do-it-yourself show, Timeshares, Solution or Surrender. We are here recording live in Kissimmee, Florida, at ARDA, at their conference, their big conference they hold every year, and their award ceremony. And us little troublemakers, but we're being good. And we're here in the lobby area where the conference is being held. I'll try to get some video shots of it. It's huge. It's beautiful because they make billions and trillions of dollars off of your horror stories, which Irene is here to talk about. But we also have our favorite person from Koala here, Michael Kennedy, who's going to tell you how to turn that problem that you have into a better solution. We're going to have all kinds of conversations here this week, interviewing all kinds of people from customers to developers to solution providers to bankers. Everybody's here this week. But what I'm going to do is introduce the person who makes all of this, the star of our show, the host, Irene Parker. Hi, Irene.
Hi, Kim. It's great to be here, I think. So when this was suggested, I thought, no way am I going to be here. But it's really turned out to be interesting. We've already talked to quite a few people. We already ran into our friend Mike Kennedy from Koala. That if you don't want a perpetual contract with a high interest rate loan, then pay somebody else's maintenance fees and rent through Koala. Make sure that your resort allows renting. And one of the reasons, we're here for two reasons today. The first reason is because the ARDA conference it's their spring conference today through Wednesday, and they are also having an award of excellence. And we have 3 Wyndham owners, actually 4, that have been Wyndham owners for 20 plus years that were encouraged, they reported, to buy more points to rent. And either it didn't work if using Wyndham's approved programs. One was Megan has been on our show, October 28, episode 36. Her husband, a Marine, told that not to worry about her husband being deployed to a combat zone. She could rent it out to pay for itself. And so when we heard that Wyndham is the award of excellence, then there's my husband so walking down the hall. We not only did people get upset, but we had Tom, a Florida resident. Can people see that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Slide it over this way. Perfect.
Okay. So Tom and my husband were in this truck today, and they dropped Marcy off. And Marcy is going to explain how she is one of the 3 families that I'm assuming that they loved Wyndham for 20 years, and then everything fell apart. So Marcy, tell us how your history with Wyndham has been and what led you to be on our show today.
Just wait. Keep going. Just keep going.
Okay. Well, we have been vacationing with family for quite a few years with Wyndham. Always down at Ocean Walk. Then they started encouraging us to buy more points to reach different levels so that we could rent at other places, which never seemed to work out. Then they said that we could offset our costs by renting our points through extra vacations. So Tom would rent a week and turn the weeks over to them. And out of the 7 days, they would rent maybe 3 or 4 days. So then we were losing the rest of the week.
Well, it called me suspicious, but it's quite possible that they were pocketing those points and renting them out, because this is a common complaint that we hear over and over again. And Megan on our show on that episode 36 she explained why that doesn't work. First of all, Wyndham keeps 40%.
Right.
So then if they're only renting out 3 or 4 days and you've given them enough points to rent out 7, it does not work.
And it wasn't helping us offset our costs for the new points. Then we went and they wanted us to get more points. We were going to save our maintenance fees, which didn't make sense to me. If you're buying more points, you're going to pay more maintenance. But they kept telling me, and it was just a circle that confused us. So we ended up buying more points. We became founders, supposedly the highest level.
How many points is that?
$1.5 or a million plus points.
Do you have any idea how much money those $1.5 million points cost you over the last 20 years?
No, I have no idea. I know this time we have I believe it's a $54,000 loan for the last points that we bought that I told them I can't afford any more points.
Because you couldn't offset the
But he said, you can offset, don't worry about it. They actually gave us the name of somebody who would rent the points for us. We did that for a year, and that was pretty successful. The second year we went to do it, we got a letter from Wyndham saying, it seems like it's a commercial activity, you need to cease and desist, or they will cancel reservations while people are en route to the vacation. We went to Wyndham that summer. We met with our advisor, and we told her about the letter. We showed it to her, and she said, "Oh, don't worry about it. That's Wyndham always sends those out. Just ignore it." I'm not comfortable renting my points out to somebody and then having their vacation canceled when they get there. So we stopped doing all of that, and right now we stopped paying. I'm not paying my maintenance fees, and I'm not paying the loans.
Well, and your husband spent 23 years with the Baltimore County Police Department.
Yes.
So you're pretty much used to playing by the rules.
Yes.
And I'm assuming you had a great credit score.
Oh, my credit score was very good. And now it's dropped a little bit. Once we closed the one Wyndham card that I was using to pay the maintenance fees and the loan, that I pay off every month. So we paid it off, we closed that one, and then I've heard from the bank Barclays twice now that they have decreased my credit limit on 2 of the other cards.
And, you know, so many of the people that reach out to us are struggling with medical conditions.
Yes.
And we have lost a spouse. And to have to fight this this way is just, it's so unfair and it is so sad. I started this effort in 2016. Diamond Resorts had offered me my money back when I attempted to book, and I learned it would cost $10,000 to use my points compared to $3,000 booked online, and I thought I was doing something wrong. And I called and they said, "Oh no, that's for people that have so many points they don't know what to do with them all." But I could have signed a non-disclosure agreement that said I would never say anything negative because I didn't feel like I did anything wrong. But the other reason we are here today is because of the Military Lending Act. And I am so tired, not tired, but, you know, sad that so many active duty service members are finding their security clearances in jeopardy because of a timeshare loan default. We had on our show last week John, and John is a Chief Warrant Officer 1 with the Army. And he wasn't so much renting, but military lifestyle. He wasn't aware that he had to pay so far in advance. And the things we're trying to lobby for is, one of them is, the naysayers always say you should have read your contract. You should have, you had 10 days to cancel. That didn't help you, Marcy.
No.
Because typically you don't have access to the booking site and you would never attempt to rent points when you're on a short vacation.
Right.
It just wouldn't work. And we have, so then we have had Wyndham, Holiday Inn, Blue Green, and the most recent Hilton on November 29th were sued, accused of violating the Military Lending Act. And all four of them here are finalists for the awards of excellence. But what really upset some is that Westgate is the sponsor for Paul Whelan, who is the Marine veteran that was released from a Russian prison that was news all across the country. And the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled in Westgate. They lost at the lower court when Florida Judge Dalton said at the end of the day, when I check out of my timeshare, I can't leave my underwear and toothpaste. Because the argument was whether a timeshare loan is a home loan or is a residential stay or a transient stay. Because the Military Lending Act exempts home mortgages. And then Westgate appealed, they lost at the appellate court. So we have all four finalists for the awards of excellence here today that have been sued, accused of violating the Military Lending Act. I have my handout that I've been giving some people to let them know. 20 active duty service members recently have reached out with their security clearances in jeopardy. And in addition to the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, we have Fannie Mae that states it's not a mortgage, and we have the National Credit Union Administration saying it's not a mortgage. But we still have Marriott responding to active duty service members that their loans are exempt from the Military Lending Act. And what I try not to take calls at night because this Navy veteran of 20 years was assured of that they could refinance because they're in the military. And they were also told that when she said, well, what happens if we can't afford it or we can't travel? And they said, you can cancel the loan at any time. It will be forgiven. She had triple negative breast cancer when she was told that. Now, Marcy, I'm going to ask you to take a field trip over here and get our charter board president, who is here with, I know you love to be on camera, so I hate to take any time away from you. And also, Kim's sister, Kelly, is with Motivation Mortgage, and she works in lending in 4 East Coast states, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. And she is also a credit repair expert. And she's been on the show with us a couple of times where we're told that one of the first things to do is to dispute that your loan is a mortgage. So even though we have Marriott saying that they're exempt, the worst is Holiday Inn because they just ignored one of the service members, but worse, they referred them to Timeshares Only. And Timeshares Only is owned by Bert Litcher, I believe, who is the former chair of ARDA. If you go to a licensed broker with Club Exploria, they would tell you, and we have a Club Exploria person here right now, we welcome Sheila. So she's making her way here.
Hi.
So
Don't worry, I just turned it on.
Okay. Sheila is TARDA's board president. TARDA stands for Timeshare and Resort Developer Accountability. ARDA is the American Resort Development Association. And I was just telling them, Sheila, about Timeshares Only.
Yes.
And we have ARDA also. I go to their website quite a few times because they have a responsible exit website. And that's helpful because I can tell people we want to improve communications between members and owners and the developers. And we also want to just spread the word of the oral representation clause in which you agree in a contract that you did not rely on anything the sales agent said. Sheila has owned 4 timeshares for the last 150 years.
Yes.
And one kind thing I can say about Wyndham is they, with certified exits,
Yes.
you were able to contact them when you start having some medical challenges
Yes.
and be released. So go ahead and tell us, whatever you thought about the last 20, 30 years of timeshare and why Club Exploria has no responsible exit, and worse, almost if you had not been informed, you would have lost another $800,000 with timeshares only,
Yes.
as opposed to a licensed broker would have said, well, you can list it for 200 or 500, our commission is 1,500, but they don't charge up front.
Yes.
So go ahead, take it away.
Okay. I've actually owned timeshares since 1995, and I have gotten out of 2 different ones. Wyndham was one I had no problems getting out of. My first one I had problems getting out of, but I am out of it. And now I'm dealing with Club Exploria, who has no responsible exit. I have very medical issues, a lot of medical issues, and I am trying to get out on a medical, and they won't accept that. But I always loved my timeshare before, but
When we owned at Port myself because
Yeah.
of the show St. Elsewhere that no one under
Yeah.
60 would know. And when I said, I moved to Florida, so I don't want to vacation in Missouri anymore.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we had a board member. You bought this in 1984. You paid maintenance fees for 30 years. We're not going to hold you hostage. I have nothing but good memories.
Yeah.
And so just like before you got here, I talked about an active duty service member in the Air Force
Yes.
who was she was also sent to timeshares only. So tell us what they advised you to do.
They advised that they could sell my timeshare at Exploria Resorts, and that I would be able to get around $11,000 for it. And
$11,000.
yes, and I just told him, I said, listen, they wanted to charge me around $8,000 to do that, and I said, well, I got to talk to my husband, and they said, okay, we'll get back to you. And I said, okay, that's fine, you can get back to me, but after talking to the guy and everything, I reached out to Irene, and we found out that they had no reasonable way of getting out of there, and that they had taken a lot of other people. So I do not recommend that timeshares only to sell anything. So please be aware of who you try to get to sell your timeshare, and just tell them, I got to look you over, check you out, do whatever it is before you ever sign anything with them.
And let's go back to how we got together in 2016 and we co-founded TARTA together.
Yes.
But it was the process that we went through. It took 3 years.
Oh, yes.
To resolve your dispute when you had to sign an NDA, so we won't be saying anything
Right.
negative about it.
Yes.
But talk about the process we followed that led to that resolution.
Well, yes, we met in 2016. I reached out to Irene because I found her on Facebook, and she was just beginning. I don't think you had been in it too long as far as doing this, and I talked to her for a while, and I thought, okay, let me think about this, and then I got back, reached out to her later.
I remember that you were also supposed to be able to offset your maintenance
Oh,
fees.
yes.
And we had 5 pencil pitches
Oh,
from
yes.
5 different owners from the same agent.
Yes.
The same agent. And you said, no, I think this is going to work.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, okay, well,
Yeah.
you call, and if it doesn't, you call me back.
Yes, and that's how we we did do that, and you know, what I gotta say, the salesman lied. And when I reached out to the DBA, no, not DBA,
DBPR.
DBPR, after reaching out to Florida's Attorney General, that's where you're sent to. And the person I spoke to, I had sent everything to her, and she said, I don't understand why they didn't let you out. Looking at this pencil pitch and everything, you certainly have a reason to. And so it was a long haul. They ended up, after a few years, I think it was, or a year or so, that they reached out, we reached out, they reached out, their lawyers got in touch with them and gave them a whole different reasoning for that pencil pitch.
Well, and I also remember the comment that we don't know if you took that or if it was given to you. That, in other words, evidence obtained illegally is not admissible. And this is there's supposed to protect consumers,
Right.
but some attorneys general seem to protect developers,
Yes.
and some attorneys general seem to protect. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about ARDA, because in 2000, you have to buy today. Everybody has to buy today.
Yeah.
So, Shauna Bullock in Arizona proposed a bill that would have allowed timeshare members 24 hours before signing the contract. So you could think about it. And that bill passed, this was 2019, that bill passed 100% in the state, in the House of Representatives. And then at the Senate, Don Isaacson, the ARDA attorney, stood up and said, it's not the state's responsibility to protect people that don't take the time to understand the product. Now, in 2010, ARDA was fined for not calling donations, quote, donations voluntary. They were fined by the Federal Election Commission. So what they did is they now automatically bill them, and it's opt-out. So you have to call them. Now, Marriott and Sheraton are opt-in, but it's opt-out, and they raise $5 million a year.
Yes.
Now, we are a nonprofit. We are all volunteers.
Yes.
But we have, our expenses just to run the website and things like that to raise some money. And I posted an article of ours on a blog, and the president of ARDA, Jason Gamble, called her and told her to take it down because of our non-solicitation policy. I mean, I could not believe it. And $5 million a year. Now, when I went to pay my donation, it is hidden. So it says pay your bill, and in order for me to see that $7, I have to go to my account history. But getting back to the military, we also have a Marine that recorded a Wyndham in-house sales agent promising him a 4% interest rate because of the GI Bill, which is absolutely ridiculous. And despite having that level of evidence of deception, they told him they would get back to him by the end of May. Now, this is the department that's called Wyndham Cares. And so we also we have some positive stories. We have a Navy commander, and she purchased points. And if somebody resolves their dispute, we want to be grateful for developers that will right a wrong.
Yes.
And so she had purchased in 2015, and in 2017, this will ring a bell. If you buy Hawaii points, they're gonna really go up in value. They're gonna skyrocket. So she did, and she ended up with about $1,000 a month. And then when her work schedule in the military was getting difficult to travel, she tried to sell them and learned they have no resale value whatsoever. So they refinanced her loan in 2020 to where, but she was still paying $600 a month and couldn't use it. So we directed her to contact her resort, and she was able to resolve her dispute.
Yes.
And this is a commander in the Navy, and when she called me, she said, "I'm shaking. I'm shaking." And I thought, it's not every day you make a Navy commander shake. And then we have Utah. In Utah, we have three. We have Megan, who I already mentioned was pregnant with her third child and told not to worry about her husband being deployed to a combat zone because they could rent it out and the timeshare would pay for itself. Oh, and by the way, when I put my key in the ignition to come here and I went to turn it on, Tartar received another contact us, and it was another Wyndham member, Gabriella, in Texas, the same rental complaint. And now, they're headed to default, and she came this close to paying an exit company $15,000. $15,000. So this is the work that we do. That not only are we able to have, and we call the show Timeshare Solution or Surrender. Surrender can mean a couple of things. It can mean you surrender your deed back, happy ending. It can be what happened to Marcy, surrender. I have no choice but to default. So if you have an active duty service security clearance and her husband is expecting to be promoted, they can't default.
Right.
And she was supposed to just be a stay-at-home mom. Donica was on our show. She was 4 months old. And so she was just going to, while Dad was deployed, but had to work full-time. And then we have, this is probably, you can't make this up, where we had Brian in Hawaii, and he is in default. Also, with Wyndham, reported that if he bought extra points to rent, he could offset his costs. And he signed up during a co-sponsored Wyndham and Army military spouse weekend. So surely, and then we have the Westgate speaker tomorrow. Westgate is sponsoring Paul Whelan, the Marine veteran, and we have Andrew, who purchased from Westgate. Andrew's been on our show 2 or 3 times, and it's a young couple with a 6-year-old, and they were sold a 4-bedroom to rent, and he went into great detail about how they told him to book these weeks and rent it out. And he had spent 10 years with the Idaho National Guard and was planning to transfer to the Utah National Guard, and because of the default, he involuntarily left service. Now there were a few other factors, but he was trying to transfer to the Utah National Guard to be close to his family. We have Brett in Utah. Megan is in Utah as well. And we have Brett, who is 100% disabled, Army veteran, the same thing. 20 years he's been an owner. And then Kim, are you able to jump in with us too? Because I wanted to ask you about the getaway weeks. Now we're in a little different logistics here, so I'm not.
I know you don't see what you're.
Yeah.
I jump in. Hi guys. Yeah, I'm running some other things in the background and getting some stuff that we need. But yeah, it's so let's talk about that.
Well, and as far as renting, you sent me that recording of we probably get 3 or 4 scams a day sometimes calling about renting these getaways, as we're talking about the topic of renting. That was a 20 or 30-minute recording, and she was so good. Could you go ahead and talk about
So
that?
I'm glad I recorded it because I will turn it into a state attorney general of someone, or maybe federal level, because it was probably the biggest lie in sales I ever heard. But what they do is they talk to you and they go, "Oh, you're not using it, make money on it, and we can get you back about $8,000. In fact, I can guarantee you $8,000. But what you have to do is buy the points and then give them to us." And I asked her, "Is it already sold? Have you already sold it, or do I have to wait?" And she said, "No, it's already." And I've been told twice this. "No, it's sold. It's already pre-sold. We can guarantee you because it's in Vegas, big conference. They're already sold." And I know they're not because they don't own them yet. So how can you sell something you don't own?
Well, and I went to their website, and there were like 6 listings for each one was $1,400, which added up, I think, to that $8,200.
Right, but they have to sell it.
Yeah, it's not.
It's not sold. So this is how it works. I asked them, "Can I have a copy of the contract to read it overnight? And then I'll sign, and have maybe an attorney look at it." "Oh, no, no, no. We can only do the contract live while you're here, and we're making the sale. And then when you pay us, we'll send you the contract."
Oh,
And I'm like, "What kind of contract?" But I wanted this on tape. So I just kept letting her talk. But I go by my points. I pay for them. I think they're like $50 a week, a day, $50. And then she, I guess, turns around and sells it for a package, and it comes out to 8,000. So I spend maybe 1,000 or more, and she supposedly pays me back 8,000
in 90 days.
in 90 days. But in 90 days, the to be able to rescind is totally gone because you only get 3 days to rescind. And in 90 days, it's too late for me to get my money back.
Well, and when I checked the BBB, the complaints said they told me I would get my check in 90 days. And when I called them in 90 days, they said it would be 180 days.
Right. So then we won't sell it until it's too late for you to get your money back. So that's the deal. They don't tell you that. So if say, because it's 90 days that you can complain to your credit card company, and then the credit card company will reimburse you. But they wait until that period is over. So 90 days, you can't go to your credit card and go, "I got scammed," and they give you your money back. So then what can happen is they can't sell it. So now you're out all the money. So then what they do is they put it into a pot where they bid it out. And then in that bidding, the odds are you're going to sell it for less than what you paid for it. But once they got you after the 90 days, there is no rescission. There's no way to get out of it, nothing. And that's what I figured out and how that works. And I lost my mic. So,
And I would be remiss if I didn't talk about Sharon, who is also serves on Charter's board. And we were on the phone recently with, I think, the Villas of Fortune Place, which is managed by DM Management. DM Management was acquired by Vacation, and they also have no responsible exit. And worse, this one resort managed by them, they were referring to an organization called Charter. And they were, I have their handout on an upcoming show, we're going to show it, where they said your heirs must inherit the timeshare. And the only way out of the timeshare is to buy our travel club points. And so we, that's ridiculous, and that's I think we've probably saved people about 100,000 in exit. So and what? So is that the only timeshare you're left with, Sheila? Is the Club Exploria?
No, I have Massanutten, which is part of Vacation Village,
yeah.
but Massanutten is kind of on its own in a way. And I really like Massanutten. That's going to be my last one, but I can't travel much anymore. So there's no reason to hold it, and I don't want my kids to have to worry about getting rid of.
Well, and you're going to have to default on that because, and what's really something is Vacatia is a rental and a resale platform. So when you go delinquent or pay for the rest of your life for something you're not going to use, they can happily rent it out.
Yeah.
And they never have to foreclose.
Yeah.
When you die, you won't know that your heirs have a period of time within the, it just varies by state, 6 to 9 months from the date of death that your heirs can. Are we having problems with our technology here?
Just keep talking.
Okay. All right. So now we have here the. So then we also have.
What? A woman's listening to everything.
What's wrong?
It's all right. Okay. Well, I know.
Okay.
Okay.
So Marcy, can you come join us again?
So we have another guest.
Yeah, I think we had another guest scheduled today. We had Glenda, and Glenda was able to resolve her dispute, but she's fell under the weather, so she wasn't with us today. And she had paid an exit company $22,500, and this was pretty remarkable because they were doing road shows throughout Florida, and they said that they had a congressman, someone running for Congress, that was supporting them. So they didn't need any money because they had grants all over the place. And she had 3 timeshares. So he left the room for 30 minutes after being paired with a mediator and came back and said, you've been released from all 3 timeshares, which of course is impossible. And what had led her to that exit company was her developer in 2019 told her, and this is one of the developers that's here for finalists in the Award of Excellence, if you pay your maintenance fees, we will take it back. They put that in writing, and so she paid her maintenance fees, and then she received an email that said, upon further consideration, we are not going to take back. So this is what is driving people to exit scams. The developers are driving people to exit scams. And so I got on the phone with the other 2 independent resorts. They were wonderful. They took it back right away. And when she went back to the first one that got her into all this trouble, and I want to give a shout out to the Tennessee Attorney General. He is a pro-consumer Attorney General, and they were of great assistance in that battle because they said we don't need any money. We have all these grants. And then a few days after she signed up, they said, oh, one more thing. We need $22,500. You have to pay 7 years of maintenance fees. So that was really awful. Now we also have coming up next week a guest, Jeff, and Jeff is a cameraman, right, Kim? And you were on the phone with him. So
Yes.
we're looking forward to him as an upcoming guest. I don't know. I think Mike Kennedy probably got called off into a conference here, but
Well, because he's here for this.
Yes.
And you've spent a lot of money to come to these conferences. If he's staying here at the hotel, we know that they're probably paying $500 a night. So
we're staying with the peasants.
yeah, we're in Pleasantville, but it's still a nice peasant.
Yeah, it is.
So, but I think that we're here. We're going to learn as much as we can. Try to get a few interviews, and then we have a mission, which will probably happen tomorrow. But we have somebody outside of the hotel driving around with a billboard, and it's we're all kind of being a team here. But we're trying to be so that we don't get kicked out. You want to put that up again?
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, and
There you go.
let's ask Marcy.
But no ifs, ands, or buts. We are going to be wearing our shirts here real soon.
And
So, yeah.
Marcy, how often has your husband? What prompted him to? We know what prompted him to do this, but this is kind of going the extra mile. What has it been like driving up and down Daytona, right?
Daytona A1A, right in front of Wyndham Ocean Walk.
And how often have you done this?
Every weekend since we did this. So it's been, I'll say since February.
And what can you share about your experiences?
People are looking as we drive by Ocean Walk. People are coming out, driving out, and they're pointing at the sign. They're looking at it and things like that. But every Saturday or Sunday, we're out for a couple hours driving up and down A1A.
And
with his little billboard out there, and
he's been 23 years as a police officer, so
right.
At least he's been on the other side of this.
And it's very hard for us. As I said before, we've paid our bills on time, made sure everything was up to date and everything, and this is hard for us to let it go, to stop paying on it, and seeing what it's doing to our credit.
And did you work outside the home?
I was a teacher for 30 years.
And what did you teach?
I worked with special needs students.
See, we
From language disorders to behavior issues, even to autistic children. I was in a level 5 school, which is one step below an institution.
And Gabriella, that is just reached out today. She would have loved to have been on the show today, but she's a teacher. Well, she's a bilingual coach, and she came this close to paying an exit company $15,000. She had already signed the loan agreement for them, and she's already volunteered to be a Spanish translator. So we have Ruben, who's our Spanish translator, and it's hard enough to battle timeshare developers, but when you're battling it and English is your second language, it's tough. Now, people try to blame it on, it's because English is my second language. Oh, it's because I'm elderly and I'm vulnerable. It's because I'm young and naive. It's like, no. They don't discriminate. And we have recently, the Wall Street Journal, I don't know if you saw that or not, it was an economic analysis. And there's 155 complaints where, the ARDA did the survey that said 90% of the people are happy with their timeshares. But there was a professor in Central Florida that did a study a few years back where 85% regret their purchase. So somewhere in there is the middle. We're not quite sure where that middle is, but I keep plugging in. I started out as in 2016 when I learned I was going to be on Property Man on Fox talking about my timeshare experience. I started researching, and I thought something's really wrong. Something's really wrong. And the 3 things that we want to lobby for, one of them is the oral representation clause that's in other contracts, but it's used and abused in timeshare. One attorney calls it the license to lie clause. That clause should be disclosed at or prior to the presentation. Or you get an appointment card, or you get an email at check-in, and all they would have to say is do not rely on oral representations to make your purchase. Some people would still, they talk over it. The other is the booking site. As we said, reading the contract wouldn't help you. The rescission period wouldn't help you because you would never rent. So we feel the rescission period, 5 or 10 days, whatever state you're in, should begin the day you have access to the booking site. And the third thing is the recorded closing. There were over 1,000 Diamond members in 2016 and 2017 that filed complaints with just the Arizona Attorney General. And I got a call from their PR firm that said, we're going to go beyond the assurance of discontinuance. We're going to record the closing session. And I thought, what a perfect entrapment. Now, do you know if any of your recorded closings?
I think the last one was.
Okay.
I think that was.
So we've had people report, now don't say anything about renting on the recorded closing because you were directed to a company, right?
Yes.
And
we were also told, don't tell anybody here that we're giving you that name. We're not allowed to do that.
So you didn't say anything on the recording?
Yeah. They said we're not allowed to do it because it's you, we're going to give you the name.
Well, and this, the Gabriella that called us, she said that they told, as long as you only rent out half your points or less, you'll be okay.
And that's what we were doing. We were only doing half of the points. There's no way that we could use all of the points that we got.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And when we first bought, the very first time, we bought at Fairfield Patriot. I think it was Patriot Place in Virginia. We were there on vacation, and a friend of my husband's had mentioned about them. He called and said, we're here. Can we come over and look at your property and talk to you about buying? That's how we wanted to. And they said, no one's ever called us. We've always, had to reach out to people. So we brought back when Wyndham was Fairfield. And we enjoyed it then. And then we bought at Ocean Walk when it was one tower. We enjoyed going down there, and it was wonderful. Anytime my husband called reservations, they helped him. They were very good with it. But the salespeople just keep pushing us to buy more and more points to the point now where we can't afford anything else. I've really had to cut back on our spending. We didn't go on vacation last year. And we have nothing booked for this year.
Well, and Blue Green, that is a part of Hilton now, I was contacted by Ashley, who is a single mom with a 5-year-old that only accepted grandma's points because they said they had a free voluntary surrender. Blue Green would take it back. Her little boy has 12 doctors. He's had surgery every year of his 5-year life. Symptoms are lung disease and heart failure. So one of her relatives canceled. She posted on Blue Green Marketplace, and again, Hilton's one of the winners for the Awards of Excellence here, and she received back, put $5 on Venmo, I want to check it. So she did, and she heard back from, I knew this was a scam. 2 weeks later, Blue Green suspended her account. And she said, well, I've had it. I'm going to give back my points. And they said, we've changed that. To give back your points will cost $8,165. But if you wait until August, it's going to be another $5,500 because it's 18 months of maintenance fees. So, and now one thing I didn't ask is, are you getting collection calls?
I think Tom has, and he's talked to them. I have not gotten any, but I said today when I checked what's supposed to come in the mail, there are 2 letters from Wyndham that are addressed to me, and I think we'll deal with, non-payment.
And we had, and actually Glenda resolved because we sent this flyer to several executives, and they, after being ignored since 2019, they called her immediately and said that they would take back her timeshare and waive her fees.
Well, Tom had an appointment to talk to somebody from Wyndham Cares. They made the appointment. He took off of work that day to be home so that when he would be free when she called. She never called. She called the next day while he was at work. He was on a ladder. By the time he got down to answer the phone, she left a message that I will try to call you again in a week or so. And then he got an email the next day saying, since you haven't responded to any of our calls, we're closing the case.
And this department is called Wyndham Cares.
Wyndham Cares, which they don't.
Yeah, we have had some resolutions, and Kim was able to reach out to their media department when we had Sandra on the show, whose husband was a Korean veteran, and she was practically homeless because of she showed up at Walmart and they said, "Oh, Travel and Leisure has bought us. We don't have any of your information. We need to enter it in." She entered it in, not realizing she had purchased $11,000 worth of points. And this has happened with Capital Vacations. And there was a news report in Florida, in Orlando, with Capital Vacations of a couple that, same thing. They were told they had to convert their deed to points, walked out of there not knowing they had $55,000 loan. But we had 3 like that. We had one where the husband or wife had Alzheimer's, and they said, "This is our last trip. We want to exit." Well, okay, but it's going to cost $9,800. That's a lot of money, but if we have to pay that, they got home and they learned through the mail or the internet, an email, that they took out a loan for $61,000. Now, the chairman of Capital Resorts, the chairman of Arda Rock, the owner's advocacy side, is an executive consultant for Capital. They called the sales center, and the sales center referred them to an exit scam that tried to rip them off for another $17,000. But the last $12,000 didn't go through because it was recorded as a scam. Now, again, half of a problem goes away when it's confronted. And this see no evil, hear no evil, feel no evil. And to just say, contact us, we're here to help. It's not going to happen. So this is, not only is listening to people, my phone never stops. Every time I say, "Kim, can you call me?" And she calls me, I'm like, "Can I merge you into this call? You will not believe me." And and then I always forget what I meant to call her about.
Right.
So I don't know what I did in my past life to put me in this situation to be 50 hours a week. And I started out maybe 10 or 20 hours a week talking to people. And 80% research and writing. And now Sheila stayed with me in my house for the whole day. And we spent 2 hours with the first person that called. People, they just don't know how to get started.
No, they don't.
And when Tom sent me his report, I thought, I can't make heads or tails of this report. You can't see the forest for the trees.
Right.
And so I just keep asking question after question after question. But we'll see what happens. We must be in between conferences, Kim, or else there's some planned interference here. And I'm so happy that this worked out today.
Oh, yeah, this is awesome to be sitting here and with all of the developers and timeshare programs to learn just a little bit more about their side of the story.
And we want to thank Hilton, because I talked to the security guards and they saw me slipping somebody a piece of paper, and they were as nice as could be. So we appreciate having this. Now, are we going to broadcast on TikTok tomorrow?
Yes, we're confirmed. Well, somebody has offered to co-monitor for me, so I just need to tell him what time. But I can run it all day.
And can I wear my T-shirt that says "Never leave a veteran behind"?
Absolutely. I'll wear the other one.
Okay, yeah, I have two.
Yeah, but I'm gonna pack it. I'm gonna suit up so that we can do some interviews if we can get some. So I'll suit up in the morning when we first get here. Now that we know how to do the system, and then I'll switch clothes. I am so good at doing this, like doing
Really
lives on site, and I usually carry a spare something, and I'll swap out clothes.
Well, and this is episode 56.
Yes, I forgot to say that. Oh my gosh, we are rocking it. We are so into our second year, second season, but I'm stacking the shows as if we never stopped. Because I think it makes it easier for people to go look and find a show rather than having to go season 1, season 2. Irene kind of got started late in the season. So
February 26, 2024, we had Tanya, who is our active duty Army, and she's now, well, she was active duty Army National Guard, but she switched to the Army because the Army will pay for her law degree, and she's been accepted to at least 3 law schools. And Tarda wrote a letter of reference for her, so we are really excited about following. She did resolve her dispute. We're not lawyers, so when somebody says, what happens, should I stop making my loan payments? Should I stop my maintenance fees? That's giving legal advice. So we want to say a shout out to the attorneys. We've had 3 attorneys on the show that have, we're really grateful that they've donated their time. So I can say, if someone asks
time
me,
is money.
should I stop making my maintenance fee payments or loan payments, I can say, watch episode 11, May 6th. And, you know, that the comment was made on there, if you continue to pay your loan payments, you may as well not retain our law firm. So I guess it brings, yeah, and so you have stopped. Well, we're down, Kim, to our last 2 minutes. I want to thank you for your expertise and professionalism. It's good one of us is a professional.
Thanks for being patient and praying while I am over here swearing and whining. And, you know, thank you so much. We'll have to have a glass of wine on this because now we know how to set it up.
Yes.
It's different everywhere I go.
I think timeshare makes you drink more and enjoy it less.
Yes. Well, here's a tip. Don't drink before you go into the meetings because then they really get you. You know, every story I hear people go, oh, I should say 20,000. They got me first hit for 60. 60, and that money I didn't even have. So people, don't sign anything until you take the contract home and read it. Exit companies won't let you do that. These weird rental companies that are saying, we'll resell for you, but you got to buy the points first and then sell them to us. Don't do that. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. And you're not going to make money for nothing. So it's going to cost you. Until we see you next week at 1 p.m. EST, stay safe, stay healthy, so you stay wealthy. And we're out of here. Oh, don't forget to scan the code. Go to our YouTube account. You can text us live every week, but you can also like us and that helps too.
And call us to share your experience.
And tell your story. That's right. Text us to tell your story. Take care.